we would suggest redefining money, not as currency, not as coin, not as power, not as potential experience that we could have via the application of money in the world. It's not a way to control or subjugate people. It's not a way to be better than people. It's not a process of what we would call manifestation of one's personal will in the world. It's not any of, if we define it, if we choose to define it as some other way, in some other way, just as a way of monitoring, regulating, and allocating resources in the overall evolutionary and conscious development process of humanity, a sort of circulatory system of energy and resources, rather than as something to be accumulated, controlled, hoarded, or utilized as weaponry, or as a way to harm, or as a way to just feed our addictions. So redefining money comprehensively and globally creates a potential for transformation of human life process on this planet that is not necessarily feasible otherwise, because if we're holding on to these old vantage points of what money supposedly is or isn't, then we're keeping ourselves from actually understanding it in such a way as to be able to generate it, apply it, and work with it in constructive ways that generate a harmonious, sustainable life process for humanity. In the past, money has tribally been utilized as a way for men to supposedly keep control over the feminine, or to verify their personal social status or power or achievements in the world, kind of a scorecard for the masculine tribal ego process, and a statement of authority or power in the world. And for women, the feminine, we're not projecting. These are just our interpretations, and we're open to any change of verbiage here. The process of remaining safe, comfortable, secure, being able to raise a family in a stable way, to be a good mother, and to have what women would want or desire or prefer, or to avoid pain, discomfort, death, abandonment, or loss. And of course, these are all applicable to the masculine also. So money is not a key part of our identity or our self-worth or our social value or our tribal status. And paradoxically, according to the consensus consciousness and the tribe, that's supposedly exactly what money is. So we would suggest that there are many inaccuracies that have been created in the world that keep people chasing after money and fearing not having enough money, and imagining that other people that have more money than they do are somehow better, or doing better, or living better. And if they don't have money, that they're somehow less than, or not as powerful, or not as valid in the world. And so the process of redefining the definition and meaning of money foundationally in the world process as just a circulatory system of resources that must be managed for the common good of humanity, and not for the benefits of the haves or the have-nots, or the wealthy versus the poor, or the more economically advantaged nations or groups compared to the nations and groups that don't have money. So we would suggest that monetization of life process is not a dynamic by which one is either better or ahead of other, or perceivably separate from other, or rejectable or abandonable, and that imagined projected otherness onto others as if they might, because they seem to have more money than we do, that they might be either superior or different, or that they are more authoritatively knowing. We would suggest that money does not create those realities, even if it might feel viscerally or egoically or tribally that it does. So we just wanted to communicate this slide and recognize that in this moment, there are lots of different energies that really don't want these words said, because they kind of basically invalidate the recorded experienced history of humanity in regard to money. And they kind of say basically the way we've operated from money, managed money, applied money in the past is not optimal, and that we can do way more consciously better if we choose to, and that re-envisioning money and it as an energy and just as this circulatory system of the world without having any particular goodness or badness about it. It's how it's used, so to speak. Money is an energy, it's a tool, it's a method for building and manifesting things. It's a way of applying collective energies of human beings in the generation of results in our world. And the question is, do we have a system that will definitively ensure that the money that's out there is going to be applied to the common good or not? And if it's not being applied to the common good, if it's resonating with the taproot, or if it's trying to affect non-optimal results in the world, or make a few more powerful than others, or having a few people be able to define the future of the planet instead of the many, that is not likely to be an optimal result or process or unfoldment or dynamic. And that we can choose collectively to redefine the meaning and implication of money and how it's applied, when, where, how, and why it is distributed, when, where, how, and why it is utilized to affect results in the world. And that system of money governance, if you will, the ethics behind it, the morals behind it, can be redefined, and in a way that's different than what we were speaking of in the beginning, where America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, so to speak, where chasing after happiness, no matter who it hurts, financially is supposedly okay. We can redefine that. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness does not mean that we must endlessly accumulate hundreds of billions of dollars with individuals. We can choose to operate from far more equitable distributions of resources, and money is just an expression. It's kind of a accounting system for those resources. It kind of is a label for them that says, if I have this money, then I can have access to these resources, or I can have access to this life experience, etc. And we would suggest that the current way that money is distributed, managed, and applied in the world will optimally become way more conscious than it currently is, because if we don't change our relationship to money as a species, we're not going to be willing to do something other than just profit off the apocalypse. And that's not going to serve anybody for us to operate that way.